Toyota is still the best name in town for reliability, but they really missed the mark on this one. Let's find out what was wrong with this Avalon. Let's get started. This is a 2013 Toyota Avalon. The customer had contacted us and see if we wanted to take this on. They've been having an issue with a weird chuckle or a rattling noise that's driving them absolutely insane, and it's been there for a long time. 4 trips to the Toyota dealer, and they still couldn't find what's wrong. They said they tried this and sway bar links or this or that, different parts. It didn't fix it. The customer picked up the car. It's doing the same rattle immediately when they drive off. Finally, he went to him the 4th time and was like, why can't we find this? And they just said, we don't know what it is. It's kind of normal for these models, is what they say. He's like, this isn't normal. It's driving me insane. It's really bad. So we're going to show you what we found today, how we found it, and how it's actually very common. It's shocking that the dealership couldn't find it. Let's take a look around this Avalon. So this is Toyota's large car. They've had them around for quite a while, this one being, like I said, a 2013. On the exterior, it's in really good shape. It has some nice wheels. The paint's really nice, kind of a medium gray color, and it does have a ding above the rear wheel in the back, kind of where the crease is in the metal, unfortunately. As we come around to the back, you can see this vehicle is from Arkansas. They drove all the way here to finally get this thing solved. And it's a little dirty from their drive, but otherwise it's in good shape. Let's go ahead and hop under the hood. This has a 3.5 V6 that Toyota's had for quite a while. The noise it was making was almost like it was on the firewall or something. I did check these, and to make sure there was no loose bolts or nuts or anything. Everything's tight. The strut mount is tight. The strut itself is tight. These bolts are tight. We actually removed this cowling. Everything looked good there, nothing loose. It was coming from somewhere in this area, maybe in the dash. But this has been a very reliable engine for Toyota, the 3.5 V6. It's got lots of power, actually quite powerful in the newer models. They can have 275, 300 horsepower in some of them. It's quite a lot. But everything's in really pristine shape, really great shape under the hood. We checked the front suspension as far as up here on the strut towers, and nothing's loose. Let's get this thing in the air and see what could be loose on the bottom. And here we are underneath this Avalon, and as expected, being it's a Toyota, there's not a single drop or a drip anywhere. Let's take a look, guys. So as you can see, the oil pan, transaxle, this oil pan, both oil pans, dry. Some of the things we were looking for with this rattle noise. We did check tie rod ends, we checked for loose nuts here, we checked ball joints, we checked CV shafts, also sway bar links, sway bar bushings. Another thing that can cause annoying rattles is the guide pins on a brake caliper right here. There's these bolts that go into pins and they slide in and out, and the entire caliper can rock back and forth and rattle, but these didn't have that issue. So we were striking out on finding this rattle. Let's go ahead and check the other side and show you where we checked as well over here. Again, we checked tie rod ends, CV shafts, ball joints, sway bar links, sway bar bushings, caliper, even the control arm bushings. We checked those just to eliminate them, but the noise didn't sound like it would be any of those, possibly the calipers rattling. And we kind of run out of ideas, but before we dive into further diagnosis and how we found the problem, let's check the rest of this vehicle. And just in case you guys forgot where the front of the car is, there is an arrow to designate where that is, right here. There you go, guys. The front of the car is that way, just letting you know. Thank you for that, Toyota. Very informative. Here we have a big resonator chamber. It does go 2 into 1, but then as we get to the back, it goes back into 2 again. And kind of a false dual exhaust, but it does make it look a lot better in the rear end. Just to be sure, we did check the rear of the car for any rattles. Again, calipers, sway bar links, sway bar bushings, all of these bushings here. Everything's tight, everything's good, as you would expect on a Toyota. We didn't find any rattles on the bottom of the car or underneath at all. And then we do see a little tow hitch here holding a bike holder. And I don't know that they use it for towing anything, but it does say 3,500 pounds towing capacity. I don't know if the car could tow that or not, but I don't know if I would chance it. But mountain bikes, no problem. So we'll get this thing on the ground. Mrs. Wizard can take it away and give you guys an interior review you definitely want to watch, because you're going to see some revealing things that start to reveal what we had to do to find out what's wrong with this car and finally fix it. Let's get this thing on the ground.
Everything I normally start with, I can't, because, well, the main item we normally look at when we start an interior review is the steering wheel, and it's not here. The whole entire column is missing, but we do get a lovely view of where the column does connect to the firewall, and there are the brake pedals and the gas pedals and the e-brake. Okay, well, there we go, and my shoes. But a lot of connectors and a lot of things missing down there, and there you go. There's something going on back there. But I would love to show the gauge cluster illuminated, show how many miles are on here, but I can't because I can't turn it on, shockingly. But let's go ahead and look at the rest of the car. It does present very nice. It does have a leather covered dash with a dark gray. Then we have a very light dove gray. It goes over to this very nice kind of a matte black finish. It looks very nice as well. We do have some wood trim behind that as well. So looking fabulous. But as we move down, you'll see that we have our gear selector. We've got steering column shells right there. Okay, and we can't open up the center console because it looks like the airbag is there. We definitely do not want to disturb that guy, so he's just going to live there. But we can move over to the seat. It's looking nice. More dove gray. Got some nice stitching on there. As we move, that we have more pieces and parts over on that floor mat, and that's fine because they're interior parts. They can stay in the interior of the car even though they're not where they're designed to be. They're in safekeeping over there. The door card is in really nice shape, and I like that on the camera you can see that the armrest is a kind of a colonial blue, kind of a gray blue. That looks really nice. Harder to see without the camera, but it is indeed blue. The back seat is looking nice, more dove gray, and as we move down, oh, why, there's where we put our steering wheel. Yes, that's exactly where steering wheels go. Back seats, yes. So obviously it's in a nice safe spot as well. Headliner, good shape, nothing crazy going on. Normally we don't sit this far away from our gauge cluster, but since we are taking pieces and parts out and working underneath the, well, very small space, they give us as much space as possible, and this seat is all the way back. And wow, there's a lot going on under there. And I have a feeling the Rattle has something to do with what should have been there.
So if you didn't watch the interior review, shame on you. You're going to have to rewind it to go see what all we did to take apart the parts. It's quite a big cavity in there, missing parts and pieces. So as I was moving to the next phase to figure out what's wrong with this car as far as the rattles, I did a Google search and saw a few articles here and there mentioning some kind of steering column rattle. Now here at the shop we have a database service that costs every month called Identifix, where you type in the year, make and model and kind of what you're experiencing, and then it lists out an entire list of shops all over the nation, what they've experienced, what they've found. And when they start to rack up to be the same problem over and over and over and over, there's a very good chance that's probably what you're looking at. Let me grab my sheet of paper and show you. So I typed in the Toyota Avalon rattle kind of in the front area of the car. It gives some tips on what to check, but here's what people found. Replace the electric power steering damper. The damper, it keeps going. And even on the back, another one. Replace the electric power steering damper. The damper? That's right. In the mid-2000s to the late 2000s, Toyota started transitioning over to full electric power steering. There is no power steering pump, no power steering fluid. It is full 100% electric. So I called Jared Pink from the Questionable Garage. He used to be a Toyota Master Tech. I mentioned 2013 Toyota Avalon. He cut me short and said there's a rattle in the steering column between the motor and the worm gear. It's a little star-shaped piece. It's called the dampener. I'm like, yes, that's what we're looking at. I wanted to see what you found before we rip this person's interior apart. Is that something I should be looking into? He said, "Wizard, I replaced so many of these. I could almost do them in my sleep." It's one of the small areas that Toyota really missed the mark on reliability. It doesn't hurt anything, it doesn't cause any issues that are unsafe, but it is very annoying. I actually have the entire steering column out of the vehicle so we can show you how insane this is. So here's our intermediate shaft, or the steering column. This is where the steering wheel goes, right here. You can see the little shaft that goes on. This is our clock spring, where the wiring and things go through. Try not to put that out of order there. We currently have it locked in place so we can put it back exactly where it was. Over here is where a shaft goes from the back of this down to the steering rack. This is our steering angle sensor. It senses where the location of the steering wheel is, and also if it's going left or right, or how fast it's going, and then tells this computer where and when to apply power steering through this motor. This motor turns a worm gear down below, and as you're turning, it also starts turning and gives you power steering. It's really pretty ingenious. Your entire power steering for the entire vehicle is packaged right here. There is nothing on the engine, no belts, no hoses. It's all right here. But here's the problem with the rattling noise. We were hearing it kind of in the dash area. I was thinking maybe the firewall, and it was very annoying, like especially when it went over bumps, when the steering wheel would move a little bit. I'm going to remove the motor and show you exactly, as Jared Pink had thought it would be, and Identifix, it is exactly what's wrong with this vehicle. This is our motor. As you can see, it has like a claw-shaped coupler that provides power steering for you. Jared from the Questionable Garage said, "Remove the motor, Wizard, and you'll see tons of green pieces of rubber plastic just laying all over the place." And he was 100% accurate on that. What these pieces are is a cushioning, kind of a dampener, like they call it, for this little star-shaped coupler dampener. There's a center one that's really tiny. It's kind of a spacer. I'll move that one aside. But this is the main culprit here. This is all that's wrong. Just this. And it allows play back and forth when you're going over bumps. And you hear it through, since this is bolted directly to the dash framework, it transmits through the steering wheel, through the dash, and it's very annoying. Jared also told me they sell kits that's just the large star-shaped dampener and the star-shaped spacer as a kit. He said make sure to get both, and they cost about $8 or $10. $8 or $10, all this work, and it's going to be lots of money, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. There's a lot of labor to pull the whole dash, drop all this stuff down, take this all apart. It's not done in 15 minutes. It takes hours. This job pays almost 6 hours. Jared said when he did so many of them, he could get it down to about 4 or 5, depending on what all he had to do while he was there. But he said no matter, even as fast as he got, it still takes quite a lot of time to get this done. You don't want to zip in there and start breaking stuff. So we now know exactly what is causing this noise. And as I was talking with Jared, it kind of occurred to me, this is a common issue that you as an ex-master tech for Toyota knew about, had done tons, hundreds of them, because it's so common. I asked him, how in the world did the dealership 4 times, this customer paid for 4 trips and got 0 solution at a Toyota dealership? How did they miss this? I thought maybe they just don't care. They wanted to boot him out of the shop. Jared said, no, that's not what it is, Car Wizard. What it is in today's world, in the mechanic world, they get paid a half an hour, the technician does, to diagnose it. Not to fix it, just to figure out what's wrong. If it takes them 5 hours to figure out what's wrong, they still only get half an hour of pay. Which means if it takes a long time, they just wasted a lot of time and their paycheck's going to be really small, even though they contributed a lot of time to try to figure out what's wrong. So as the technicians get a car in, it's got a rattle, they try a few things. When a half an hour's up, I'm done. I'm not going any further. They're not paying me anymore. So your car goes back outside. Sorry, we can't find it. I'm not going to spend 4 hours looking for it because I'm not getting paid. That's kind of a sad situation. I guess it kind of wants the technicians to hurry up and figure out what's wrong, get better at their job, and be able to knock things out quickly. But as you can see right here, this is what the result of it is. That's why here at Omega, I do not pay my mechanics in that way. They get paid hour by hour by hour. It's fair to them, it's fair to me, and we can get to the conclusion of what's wrong with a car without them worrying about that they're not going to get paid and their check's going to be shorted. I don't like that. We don't do that here at Omega. I like quality work, and I like it done, and it goes away, and I don't see the car again unless something else comes up. There's also the possibility that whatever technician was looking at this car kind of knew what it might be, and he knew the teardown that's going to be involved, and it's quite extensive. And Jared even said that it only pays a little bit, and it always takes a little longer to do the job than what they pay you for. So the technician might have said, I don't really even want to do this job. I'll just skip this outside, and I think I'll move on to something else. They don't want to be crammed into that tiny space for that long. But think about it, Jared's a big guy, and he did tons of these without any difficulty. So I don't understand that if that's the case. But I definitely wanted to do a video for you guys to show you how that little $5 or $10 part made out of plastic and rubber, all it does is create a cushion, created so much tear down. The whole underneath of the dash is all apart to get to this tiny little piece. Now, like I said, it didn't affect drivability. It drove straight, it drove true. It's not unsafe, but extremely, extremely annoying. If you're curious what kind of tools we use to take this apart, and we're going to fix this rattle noise once and for all the way from Arkansas, it has to come here to get solved. Check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. If you purchase anything there, we get a small cut and really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because there's many more informative videos for you guys in the future. All kinds of things to help you out. Thanks for watching.